Matt.
I'm Raven.
I'm Michelle.
I'm Cookie.
I'm Brett, Vikings of the Valley.
I'm Jeffrey, Celtic John, and we are the
Vikings of the Valley.
Thank you so much for meeting with me. I'm super excited. Okay, I have some questions, and like I said, this is more as a starting point in conversation. So feel free to deviate and whatever you feel led to talk about, we're going to talk about. So let's start about the group. Tell me about the group and how it got started.
Well, there's it's got a long history. It started out with doing educational programs in the valley when I first moved up here in 1993 about insects. I did basic entomology programs in the valley. I was a training director for a large exterminating company, so I wanted to spice it up, and I added dragon slaying, because a dragon slayer is a glorified exterminator. High end, but the key was, it's not your strength, it's not your ability, it's not your weapons, it's what you know, it's knowledge. So we started doing dragon slaying programs, which incorporated the concept of insects, how to appreciate them, how to protect yourself from them, but mostly have knowledge of them and appreciate them for what they do. So that was the gist of it. As time went by, my children became more and more involved in the program. I started to accumulate things, helmets and swords and shields, and started outfitting my children. Initially, we were Vikings of the Valley, myself and my 5 children. In 2005, I met a group called Local Colors here in Roanoke. Local Colors is a multicultural group. It represents over 100 different nationalities in Roanoke, which is
Wow,
kind of phenomenal, isn't it?
That's
So,
great.
Local Colors, I ran into a group of people that have a fraternal group called the Sons of Norway. And this is specifically Scandinavian. You don't have to be Scandinavian, and I'm not. I'm a mixed Northern European folk, but I eventually became their president. Along the way, we started doing parades and festivals and public events, as well as the more insular educational programs. So we've done, since 2006, we've performed in every festival, event, parade in this valley.
Wow.
We have had educational
That's a lot.
programs with every school, from preschool to the colleges. We've made a name and a reputation for ourselves, but the gist of it all has been, the focus point has always been education. How to share a culture, a heritage, a people. And of course we get a lot of bad press from our previous activities, so we've done things to augment that by doing positive things, but also keeping in the back of everyone's mind, we're still Vikings. We're not exactly nice guys, or girls for that matter. So we have a wide group. There's about 50 of us that gather locally, but not always at the same time. It's rare to get all of them in at the same time. On Facebook, there's about 600, 500 to 600 people.
Yeah, it was a very large organization.
But that's been around for a long time. Ever since Facebook has been, that has been. So I went directly from MySpace to Facebook, using it as a vehicle to educate and to attract. Because what sets us apart from reenactors, SCA folk, although many of them fit this category as well, we're actually heathens. The old gods are our gods. Odin and Thor and Freyr and Freya and Tyr, all of these gods that the days of the week are named for, our gods. That's who we are. This is to attract people to come to the real part of us. So Vikings of the Valley is for fun. It's just for fun and to educate and plant seeds. Future Vikings of America type of thing.
So are you guys practicing Odinists?
Oh yeah, well we're not Odinists. Classifications, denominations, some have negative connotations, some do not. Odinists do. I am an Odinist, but that's not who we are. We are a diverse group, men and women. People of different races, we don't care about that. It's very hard. It's who you name God. That's what's important to us. Because what you're doing is bringing back that which was practiced 1,000 years ago and making it real today. Our key point is to see the world as our ancestors did 1,000 years ago, living in this time. So the concept of honor, courage, to give your oath, to keep your word, these are important things to us. These are 3 of the most important.
things that sometimes are lost these days.
Well, there's this thing about getting back to the land. To be a heathen, you have to be in touch with the land. You have to be in touch with the Earth Mother. Thor is the child of the heavens and the earth. He brings forth the thunder and the lightning, but the rain as well, also protection. So what we do in our programs is we introduce the history, but we also introduce the truth and the reality of what that history was all about, and that it's still living today.
Okay, well, let's go down the line and kind of tell me how you got involved in this group. So how did you get involved?
I was invited at random to come to a festival and walk in a parade with Vikings, and that sounds interesting, so why not? And I did. I met Jeff and John, I believe, at that time, and I very quickly became fascinated with the idea that I could be part of something that was bigger than myself. And at that time, being a single mother, it was important to me that I find a group of men that a young son could look up to and learn from, somebody of more moral substance than what a lot of children are these days and have to look up to. And that was very important to me. So I kind of, as soon as I discovered the group, I very quickly yanked the kid into it, and he has been fascinated at some points more than I have right on along. Deciding that the heathen path was what was right for me was a bit of a conflict, because my child is being raised as Catholic by my mother. And until he makes the decision for himself one way or the other, that's his right. But I look up to all of these men. I know that they will protect me no matter the circumstances. They are all my brothers and father figures. And what better group of men to show a young man how to be a true brother, a team player, a part of something more than men who already are something more.
And how do you feel about, what do you think about it? How old are you? Let me ask that first.
13.
13? Okay.
I like the group. It's definitely fun. I think I've very much adopted the heathen ways now. And I've been in here ever since she has.
Thank you. Okay. How did you start? When was that?
1996.
No, 2009.
Was it 2000?
2009.
That's 13 units, 12 units.
We were still in the military at that time.
No, I got out
Just
in
getting
94.
old.
Got out in 94.
John came to me at a festival. That's how we met.
And you've been here ever since?
Pretty much. No, we've had our issues. John and I are. How familiar are you with English history?
Semi?
Okay. Are you familiar with the Saxon invasion?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Two of the leading characters of the Saxon invasion are Hengist and Horsa, brothers, or father and son. No one knows for sure. But that's how we kind of see ourselves. Our original incarnation, our original group is called Hammerhorn. And you can pick either one of us to say which is which. But I usually represent the horn, which is welcoming. He represents the hammer, which is constructive. So, different aspects.
Right.
But go ahead, now that I've talked for you, go ahead, use your mouth. That's it.
Okay.
It's been that way most of the time.
Two sides of one coin?
Sometimes that coin breaks and bends and gets lost and it's found again. But we've had a tumultuous, wonderful, true brother relationship. And we're a folk, brothers and sisters. We think of ourselves this way. We are family, we are tribe. Tribal folk become brothers and sisters fairly quickly because you're always looking out for each other. And there's a truth to it that most of us who went through the military experience or went through team sports, we understand that camaraderie, this unique camaraderie that develops between men in testing situations, especially in military and war. I grew up in San Francisco as a street fighter, so I understood combat from a very early age. And going into the military just enhanced that. Martial arts just enhanced that. So it was, you see people and you know who they are quickly. And you're seldom wrong. You do find people that are more troubling than you want them to be, but they're still, you love them anyway. Family is what it is. But that's what we are. This is family. I have been father figure since I'm old enough basically to be everyone's father here, except for my brother over here. But otherwise, it has been that relationship with virtually everyone.
I met the group. I'm very into my Celtic roots, although I do have a lot of Northern European roots as well. And I was heavy into when I moved before I moved from Washington State. I was heavy into the whole Celtic movement, Highland Games, Irish parades, and stuff like that. Moved out here. I was not involved for a while, but it's been not quite a year. It was after the Highland Games last year, which is held in August. I went to that, and I had seen these guys at the beer garden, and Jeff came up to me, gave me a big smile, a hearty, shake like that, and it was very welcoming, very cool. And I had seen him around a couple events. Well, at one of the bars, or a bar that I work at, they started coming there. And I saw Jeff walk through the door. So I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, I've met you before at the Highland Games. I'm real big into my Celtic roots, and I was looking at starting a Celtic group here in the area." And he said, "Well, you need to talk to Celtic John." And he pointed me that direction. Celtic John and I developed a friendship, and Celtic John actually basically, they started coming to the bar a lot more, frequenting it. And I guess Celtic John and Jeff were talking one day and said, "We like Matt. He seems to hold true to what we hold true to, and we want him in our group." So they kind of stole me away from making my own Celtic group, and I've just grabbed a hold.
Kidnapped it.
I've grabbed a hold onto this, and honestly been here, and it feels like family.
I'm Brett. I came to this group through at least 3 different doors. I'm the elder of the group in that I'm 73, going on 74. A 2-tour Vietnam vet, 10 years of military education. So I've always had the warrior ethos in me. I saw combat. I know what it's all about. But I'm 73. So I'm not going to go out and slay the world with my sword. So I needed that kind of fellowship with other people, other warriors, who evoke that warrior code, which is a lot of what being a Viking is all about, what heathenism is all about. It's primary about honor, and something that was stressed into a couple of our vets here. I was in the Marine Corps. They never stopped. The second reason I came in here is because when I came back from Vietnam, my brains were scrambled. I didn't know which somebody was up or down. I've seen a lot of shit, and it took me a long time to get my feet on the ground. And I wanted to pursue something that was meaningful towards me. Now, when I was in Vietnam, I got close with some war gods. One of them was Tyr, who was the bravest of the Vikings, because he puts his hand in the wolf's mouth.
He does what? He puts his hand
He puts his hand in, there's this giant wolf, offspring of Loki, of course. So they have to tie him up, and they try everything, and nothing works. So they finally get the dwarfs to make this little substance. But somebody's got to tie the wolf up and the wolf said, "You've done this twice to me." So Tyr says, "Well, I feed you, I'll put my hand in your mouth." And they bound him up. Tyr lost his hand. So I like those, it appeals to me, those ethics of honesty, honor, being a person who is responsive to an oath. If I give you an oath or I make my word to you, then it's binding. We've lost that in the world today. We shake hands doesn't mean anything anymore. We used to share on oath rings and make promises that you had to keep. I mean, there were some stories about the Jones Vikings getting drunk at they were a mercenary group, but getting drunk at a feast. And the next morning they got up and I guess it was King Harold Bluetooth that said, "You guys remember what you owed me?" "Oh, well, I don't really remember too much. What did we say?" "Well, you were going to go up to Norway and kick some butt up there." And they said, "Oh, I guess we did." And they went off to their defeat. But anyway, that's who I am. I am also self-appointed armorer of this group. And I have lots of weapons and I tend to flow through because I like to equip them.
A good bit of these weapons and
Yeah.
a good bit of the armament that these folks have.
So, and I make swords. I really don't make them. I put them together.
What does that mean?
Well, let me get Raven's Kiss over. Somebody grab me Raven's Kiss. This is Raven's Kiss. Damascus steel. It's braided metal.
What's the design on that?
Yeah, that's the design on that. That comes from using two different kinds of metal, one soft steel, one iron, and braiding them together, much like this, and then pounding it out. And what happens in a Viking sword, this is what the result is. Not the rust, which go on there, but the pattern in the center. This
That almost looks like a wood.
Well, are you familiar with Bernard Crawford novels? His character carries a sword called Serpent Breath, which this is supposed to simulate. This is Bloodletter because she cuts me a lot.
But Brett came to us through the Great Uniter, that being Facebook. All of us have the ability to, or have had the ability to connect on Facebook. Facebook has been wonderful for people like us. Now, in 1999, when I had my first computer and was a heathen, I didn't know I thought I was the only heathen on the face of this earth. Quite literally had no idea that there were other folk who shared my same groups. I just did. It took time in getting out in the public before I found people. And the thing that sets us apart, each of you have yours, this is a hammer. This is Thor's hammer called Mjolnir. But this is how we know each other. If you're walking down the street or you're going to a store and you see someone with an amulet like this, I know that you're a heathen man or woman. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm going to like you or you're going to like me, but at least we have something in common.
Somewhere to
that
start
is
the
deep,
conversation.
quite a bit deeper. It's when you see someone with a crucifix, you don't know what denomination they are, of course. They just have a crucifix. With us, this predates the crucifix. So the hammer is the representation of the most approachable of our gods. He is the big brother god, the protector god, the one that you want to invite to your home to have a good time, but he'll be the biggest, loudest, drink more than anybody, eat more than anybody, and you'll all be happy he came, but he's going to cost you in groceries. But he's a wonderful god. There's many stories of our gods and goddesses. And there's an element to all of this that makes it more real than other religions. And it's simply that our gods and goddesses are going to die. They're going to die. We know they're going to die. They know they're going to die. They know how they're going to die. And what is most appealing to our folk is that knowing you're going to die doesn't stop you from stepping forward anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's overcoming your fear. There's an old saying that a young warrior goes into battle and his father is walking he or she down to the boat. There are women warriors as well. And asks, if in battle you know you're going to die, how will you act? And the response is, well, if I know I'm going to die, then I'm going to go forward and I'm going to slay as many as I can before I fall. And then the question is, what if you know before the fact that you're not going to die, that you're going to make it home safely? Well, then I will gain as much renown as I can, and I will slay right and left until I have no more energy. In all things, do that which holds your name best, carries your name forward best. Do what's right. Do it at the right time. Step forward, not backwards.
That's why we have all these poems, the sagas, things like Beowulf, which tells of the renown of a warrior. A warrior wants most to be renowned. There's a story in the Iliad where Achilles' mother, who's a goddess of sorts, says, well, you can do two things, son. You can leave the Trojan War and come back home, live a happy life, die of old age, have lots of children and grandchildren, or you can go out and blaze a war. I choose the war. My name will be remembered forever. Other than that, it'll be forgotten about my grandchildren. So that's the way the Viking feels.
This is our mindset. This is how we look at the world. In the meantime, we have three basic responsibilities. The first is, as a child, like Michelle,
How old are you?
9.
Okay.
to develop a talent, a skill, a trade, something that will carry you forward in life, something that will support you.
Oh, do you?
This is important. The second thing is to take on responsibility for another. Now, this is development as a human being. And take on responsibility for another. That helps you grow as a human being. Thirdly, become responsible to community. Now that you're responsible for home and family and another, now take on responsibility for community, which is a larger responsibility. Fourth, develop spirituality. I don't care if you're a Scientologist. I don't care what you are. I don't care if you're an atheist. I don't care what you are. There's a spirituality associated with any philosophy, any belief system. But have something that's outside of you. For us, this is our truth. This is what's real to us.
The spirituality brings us to our gods. And there are two families of gods. The Asir, who are the ones that live up in Asgard, for Odin, those guys. And then there is a second family of gods and goddesses called the Vanir, Freya, Frey, Lord. And they are, in my humble historical opinion, they are the result of a migration of Germanic-speaking peoples coming into a Neolithic farming community, and eventually, because they have a war, eventually amalgamating into beliefs. So we are very responsible, feel very responsible for the planet, for the way we treat Mother Earth. And the spirits that are in the Mother Earth. I'm part Native American, and I know lots about land spirits. You too, huh?
No, but I can tell.
Okay. And we had the same view towards, we have land whites, little creatures that live around us that we need to honor and keep them happy, otherwise the tree's gonna fall on your house.
Yep.
I live out in the woods, and I've got developed a fond relationship with different critters that come in by and see me all the time and visit. And it's their land. It's their mine. So I have to offer them something when I'm done with dinner. If it's not
Something
too,
they can eat.
not too spicy, yeah, they need to be honored. When we have our ceremonies here, we honor the land rights, we honor the gods. That's what the gods, we are not, it's not like Christianity or Roman religion, which was the deal. I'll give you this sword if you give me a Lincoln town car. And we honor our gods. They take care of themselves, they protect us, they look after us, but our fates are pretty much woven. So it's more about honoring the gods, sacrificing to them.
One of the things you mentioned is the first step is to learn the trades. What kind of trades are they learning the sword fighting or the metalworking or what kind of trades are we learning?
Well, the archaic things, of course, that's all for fun and profit, but it's, when I say that, it's a matter of doing exactly what you're doing right now. How do you support yourself? If you're a nurse, if you're a doctor, if you're a businessman or woman, if you're a carpenter, whatever that is, whatever that trade is that or talent you have that you can develop that supports you, it's that concept. This is all just bonus. Being able to work with weapons, being able to do blacksmithing and make weapons, that's an endeavor that feeds them. It feeds them. They have other jobs that support them, but then this is a talent, a passion for them that they work on metal. John has many passions. He's a doer, he's a creator, he's a make things happen type of an individual. So he's constantly doing something that is talent, knowledge, experience, but something. Always staying busy doing something. But it's that concept. It's not specifically Viking or anything like that. It's just have a job, have a career, have a profession. And it's so much better to have a profession than it is to just have a job. A job's a paycheck, a profession is something that you enjoy doing. And you get paid for it, best of all worlds. So it's that concept.
I teach my children crafting. My grandmother always worked with me on crafts. If it was raining outside, we were doing fabric painting or learning cross stitch or learning how to knit or crochet. I do a lot of different kinds of crafts, and I try to get my kids involved in that. Certain skills never lose their value.
Right,
Knowing how to
absolutely.
thread a sewing needle, that will never lose its value. And if you can do that for yourself, if my child can do that for himself, then I have taught him something substantial. So I do a lot of sewing. I make the kids work with me. How do you want this to look? What colors are we going to use? Now this is how you use the machine. I do a lot of jewelry making with many different types of materials. Brett supplies me with bone, antler, teeth, which are my favorite things to work with because they just have such a unique aesthetic quality to them. And you can't find things like that at Walmart or the mall.
Right.
You have to make it yourself.
So do you sell the jewelry and things?
I do have an Etsy store. It has not
Oh,
quite kicked off yet, but I'm
love
working
Etsy.
on it.
Depending on who you worship and what God you have an affinity towards, you find their qualities be true in you. And so many of us have different personas or when we come into the group. Personally, I feel an affinity towards Heimdall, who is the guardian. I'm very, very much into honor. I'm a very honorable person.
So can you say the name of the?
Heimdall.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the Thor movie that's out, different Thor movies, there's an actor by the name of Idris Elba who portrays a black man portraying a Norse god. But he does it well. But Heimdall is a very important character in the Norse pantheon of gods. So spiritually speaking, many of our folk associate themselves with specific gods or goddesses. That's who they are closest to. They honor all of them, but those are who you see yourself or you see yourself in. And that's promoted, that's encouraged.
Like Heimdall and Freya.
Exactly. And Tyr.
Here.
Coming from a reenactment background, I was formerly a Native American French Indian warrior.
Really?
And, so I like to think in terms of personality. I'm an amateur historian. I read volumes and volumes and volumes, and I developed like a certain affinity to a part of that Scandinavian landscape. I have blood ties to those people. My mother's Rus, which is the people that the Scandinavians that came down here that was in Southern Russia, and my father's some of his people had half of Denmark. But it's you put it all together and it becomes, like Jeff said, a lifestyle, a life focus.
You started out at a certain level as a child, As a child grows up, becomes a teenager, a young adult, levels of ascendancy. Then it continues into adulthood. It may retrograde, it may come back down, but you're still ascending. At least you know where you were at one time in your life. The heathen folks see all things in that way. We also see ourselves in the concept of the world tree, the tree of life. Most religions, most beliefs, most societies have a concept of a tree of life. We call ours Yggdrasil. We are Yggdrasil ourselves. We draw nourishment from the earth, just like a tree does. Up through our trunk, through our branches, through our leaves, it drops back down to the ground, creating nourishment again to be brought back up through the root. It's a cycle. Everything in our world is about cycles. You're familiar with the holiday of Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas comes from our holiday of Yule, which is the end of the year, the cycle, the wheel of life, the wheel of the year. And it comes to an end on the 21st, the shortest day of the year, the solstice. We see ourselves as we did 1,000 years ago. It's a different thing than other pagan beliefs or other heathen beliefs. We're unique in this regard. Others think this way, but we're one of those. So, for us, for our people, we are reestablishing ourselves, re-emerging into the light, and it's worldwide. I have friends on Facebook down in South America. I have friends down in South Africa, in Australia, in Europe, in Russia, even some in China. It's amazing around the world. Anyone can be heathen. Heathen, you can't be Scandinavian unless you're born Scandinavian.
Right.
Okay, I wasn't born Scandinavian. I have Scandinavian bloodline, but I'm not Scandinavian. But I am heathen. You can be heathen. Heathen is a way of life. We're not shy people. We're not weak, and we're not retiring. We're vibrant. And our tribe, we just went on a long hike that one of our 20-year-old girls was put in charge of. She'd never been in charge of a group of men in her life. She took on that responsibility and she shined. That's part of that ascendancy. You have to be developed. You have to be given opportunity that don't overwhelm you now. You go into combat, you want to be as prepared as you can. You want to have all the weapons, armament, and knowledge and training that you can. Well, that goes forward in life too. How do you know you can do something until you've been given the opportunity to do it?
And given the tools
Yes.
to do it.
And not just dumped on it. Said, these are the things to do, this is the way to do it. Now, go ahead and shine. Our way is open. It's open to anyone. But it does require learning, because we have a lot that we haven't even grasped yet. There's a lot of knowledge that is not available to us. So, what we have done is take on knowledge by spiritual growth. You take in all the knowledge available to you, then you apply spiritual growth to that knowledge, to where you find truth.
A good example of this process was what we did last Thursday. We took a 4-line verse from a book called the Havamal, which are the sayings of the Highlands. A counsel from Odin,
The Havamal?
the Havamal.
Okay.
Words of wisdom.
And we sat there and analyzed this 4-line section of poetry for 2 hours. We each expressed our own ideas of what it meant to us, and to see the wisdom coming out of seeing other people's sides of it. And what was just a short phrase that somebody might call an old wives' tale turns out to be so full of meaning, because we deconstructed it, took apart, felt personally about it, and that's what we do. We share knowledge.
All people have wisdom. All people
Absolutely.
that have ever lived on the face of this earth have their wisdom.
And
they
something
have
you can
what we
learn
call,
from them.
yes, they're sacred writings. The sacred writings are called mythology. All people have a sacred writings. If they've had any length of time, if somebody bothered to copy it down. I did a program where I compared the Bible to Greek mythology, Norse mythology, any people's sacred writings, and specifically referred to it as sacred writings. Well, there was a principal of the school that took offense to me calling the Bible mythology, not understanding what mythology means. The sacred writings of a people. It's not that they're myths. It's misused. Mythology is a sacred writings of a people. So it's a compliment. It's not to denigrate anything. But you have to understand that that's important to those people. You may adapt that to your life, but does it resonate to you? or do you just read the words? If it's not resonating within you, if it doesn't touch your spirit, then the truth of those words is not for you. Doesn't mean it's not for another, but those words are not for you. And that's what we have found. Those of us who, we're all brought up as Christians, all of us.
Yes.
What else do we have? There's no other option. But when I came to my realization that Christianity never was for me and never fit me, I've been a heathen my whole life, I just didn't identify myself that way. It was natural. It was free, and I felt free, and there was no turning back from that point.
It feels good. It feels good to feel like all of the pieces finally fit together the way they're supposed to. Being raised in a Catholic church by my mother, it's, you sit up, you sit down, you stand up, you kneel, you pray. You sing, you stand, you sit, you kneel, you pray. Same prayers every night. And I went along with this for years. And then being a young teenage mother and finding out that my child, if unbaptized, had died, as he was very weak as an infant. He would have spent his eternity in purgatory. That turned a huge page for me. I was already uncomfortable in my mother's church, but that was the pivotal stopping point for me. I don't believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're gone, you're gone. It's what you leave behind that is important. But telling me at 18 years of age that my beautiful infant baby boy that is very ill could die and be stuck in this hell for children for all eternity was not acceptable for me. So I went searching and found different things, and I eventually ended up here, and it feels good. The pieces fit. It makes sense to what I feel inside. I love nature and animals. It fits with the heathen way. I am my own person. I am encouraged to be my own person. However crazy that may make me look. I don't look like any other mama that he goes to school with, you know. I don't look like a mama. But the heathen way encourages me to be
You look
me.
like a mother to your children.
Right. And that feels good. There's no other way to put it for me. I cling to Freya because I feel all of the parts of Freya are all of the parts that are me. Freya is the goddess of both love and war. You know as a woman as well as I do that in your mind, at some points in time, you are both love and hatred and war and evil, conniving, manipulative, all of those things. That is what Freya is. She is
You're so beautiful.
woman. She is woman. I'm a woman, and I'm going to be Freya's daughter. I'm going to value Freya and hold her up because I understand her, and she understands me. We get it. I'm crazy, but that's okay.
But you're good at it.
Oh,
Because I'm
yeah, she's
good at it.
really good at it.
Track.
I was in
Go
the
ahead.
education business for about 10 years.
Oh, okay. What are you doing?
I was worked with an outfit up on top of the mountain up here called Camp Oak Creek. We were an outdoor wilderness school
That's
that
amazing.
worked with youth at risk. And I'll tell you, the history program was horrible. It was based on, Vikings. They had horns on their helmets. They ran around and they killed everybody. They didn't do anything else. It's because you have history and then you have television. And people get the wrong images sometimes. And the backwoods teachers that we had were fairly opinionated about certain facts of history. I know being of part Native American descent, and I've seen that, nobody teaches what happened with the material here.
We came from Oklahoma. That's
Yeah,
right in there.
they came from
Got friends from
Tennessee. They came from Tennessee and had to walk to Oklahoma.
Yep.
And thousands of them died. But anyway,
She can see.
I found in fact, it got to the point that the history teacher told the director of camp, don't send that guy down here. Because I'd say, well, he tells you the wrong thing. He's not right. No teacher wants that under management. So,
History, what we have done, no, you can't get the history of our folk. It's brief. In the books, it's brief. About 200 years. Leif is not Viking. He's Norwegian, Scandinavian, but he's not Viking. He doesn't go out raiding. He's a Christian. But he is the continuation. He is what the Vikings ended up as. The Vikings were always just farmers. They were craftsmen. There are very few that were actually all the time going on a Viking raid. Viking was not used back then. You said, I would go a Viking. Go a Viking. It's a verb. I would go a Viking. And then, of course, if you play basketball, you're called a basketball player. So if you go a Viking, you become a
A
Viking.
Viking.
So, but these are our stories that we teach. These are the ideals that we teach. So it's not enough to know the mythology. It's not enough to know what we call the Eddas, the ancient books of our folk. It's not enough to know all of that. You also have to know the history of the people themselves. And that's what you get from the Icelandic sagas. The Icelandic sagas are so unique in the history of the world that you actually have histories of people for long periods of time, generations, talking about everyday life, how they viewed the world on a Monday, how they viewed the world when there was a marriage, how they viewed the world when there was a funeral, how they viewed the world when they were dishonored, how they viewed the world when they went before the assembly of law, the free-speaking men in the Aldings in Iceland. You have all of that before you. So in order to get a deeper understanding of what it is to have been heathen 1,000 years ago, we have that. And that's very unique to any people to have that.
The education system also, I think, is failing not just in history. I mean, you could put it to history, but in the fact that, so my kids go to school, and I've noticed, I actually have a master's degree, so I'm pretty well educated. My son, with the bullying and everything like that in school that happens online or not online, whatever, there's a huge emasculation of men, especially. I mean, they're not teaching the way we used to grow up.
Entirely too nice. It used to be that when you wrote a report in school, if it was right and you got good grades, then it was right and you got good grades. Children are not taught how to spell words correctly anymore. It doesn't even matter. A 7th grader, and if you were to read some of the things that he has written, you were not been taught in school the same way that I was taught. Red ink. Why is red ink a bad thing? Red ink teaches you, hey, I didn't do that right this time. Well, then the next time you have to write a report on Uncle Tom's Cabin or Abraham Lincoln, you can look back at your other reports and go, oh, you know what, I spelled that word wrong that time. I'm going to spell it right this time. I'm going to get points for it.
I'm not really.
It's not, children aren't taught this way anymore. It's
Not
not a
everyone
right
should
or
get a trophy.
yeah, it's not a right or wrong anymore. Now it's a, well, you tried, so good for you.
You get a participation.
Yeah, here's my idea of what is wrong. Everything is, when you put a percentage on it. Let's say it takes 10 steps, just for sake of argument, to make a pot of coffee, but you forget to add water. Did you make a pot of coffee?
No.
No. So
That's a good analogy.
either you did it or you didn't. And I think this whole muddying the water with other things
Well, you
has
tried.
really dumbed us down.
Well, when I was a kid, they left people back if you didn't make the, I'm sure.
So what we do is we have a booth, tables, we have artifacts set out. You can put on chainmail, put on a helmet, have your picture taken. see what it is to hold a real shield, real sword, swing it around, have some fun with it. We also bring dragon information. About the only a couple of dragons in our mythology. One is in Beowulf, the other is in Sigurd, the Volsunga saga. This is a slaying by Sigurd the Great Dragon Slayer that also incorporates the concept of the Sleeping Beauty and the Valkyrie who is forced to go to sleep by Uthin. So there's lots of myths and stories that are associated with these greater stories. Also, Lord of the Rings and Hobbit is taken from the Beowulf and also the Sigurd the Dragon Slayer story.
Wagner's operas.
Yeah,
Which one?
Wagner's opera.
Wagner's operas.
The Nibelungenlied is written from that. These are troops of our people. Every people, every society, every culture has stories of dragons. Every single one, and none of them look exactly the same, but they all look somewhat similar. How can that be? How can that be if they never existed? So we take the point, and of course, along with Roanoke College and the Museum of Natural History, that they did indeed exist, and you're just not wise enough to find them. But we have found them, and we know how to slay them. And so we take the kids through how to slay dragons. Okay. Now, the key here, key element, is knowledge.
Yes.
Knowledge, acquisition of knowledge. The more you know about a dragon, the better you can protect yourself and slay the dragon. But do you slay every dragon? No, of course not. Only some dragons need to be slain, and that's part of the story, of course. Just like with insects. Again, it's a continuation of that premise.
Kill all the insects
Only
and all the
some
plants.
insects need to die, and only those who are causing you harm. Otherwise, you leave them alone, let them go about their life. Dragons have the same responsibility. They have things that they have to do. If you take them out of the equation, then those things won't be done. Now you have to do it. Do you want the job of a dung beetle? No, of course not. But if you kill all the dung beetles, somebody has to have the job of the dung beetle. Well, but that's education is paramount.
Foundational.
What we gather for every single Thursday, we have a discussion group here. I introduce a topic and we go through it. As Brett was talking about, just one stanza from the Hofmal, the words of the High One. We dissect it because there's lots of different viewpoints on how it can be applied. Cookie or one of the other women will have a female's point of view that a male won't ever come to. We just won't see it from that perspective, or from a child. Our children bring forth points of view that it just goes right over our head, and they'll come up with something incredibly pertinent and poignant, and thank you, how wonderful, that was great, I'm enlightened. So that's why we do that. It's not just about learning our history, but how to live a life that is associated with our history of that which was once our way of life. And we're right back there again. And given the amount of people that we have and the diversity of the people that we have, I can only see it progressing and going forward. In the meantime, we get to do fun things. We've made a movie. It's a 2-hour feature-length motion picture named Talos. And
Talos,
it's
T-A-L-O-S?
T-A-L-O-S. It is on YouTube. The trailer for it. It was shown locally at the Grandin Theater, which is an old theater in town, and a couple of other theaters. Then we're making the sequel, but it's more ambitious. And we have an actual producer and a director and real camera people, so it'll be a more complicated, more difficult movie to make, but a lot more fun too, I think. So that's one. Then we did a play, and the play is based on a saga out of our gods books. It's a story of Loki and a big gathering of the gods after the death of Balder, the Shining One. So creative endeavors. I'd never made a movie before. Now I'm making my second one. I'd done plays in theater before, but they
It's
never.
got to be open when the universe says go. I've
Creative
learned
endeavors,
that.
but not just for fun, but to learn. Okay, because it's like with some of the guys now are doing the metalworking. They're making a forge. Okay, we've accumulated money. They're making a forge, so they're going to do real metalworking, real blacksmithing. That's a creative endeavor. That's something that feeds you. It's something where you can utilize all your talents and skills and your abilities. Acting, drama, public performances of any kind. What you're doing right now. All of those things feed you. You develop from those things, those life experiences. So as many good, wonderful things as you can do in life, do them. What I have done for my folk is give them opportunity. things that they would probably not have had the opportunity to do. The reason we're all dressed in gear is because I started dressing in gear. Then he, being the gift giver that he is, started gifting everyone gear so that everyone would be somewhat equal. And he's given me things, and I already had things. So
Now you have a weaponsmith and a jewelry maker.
we have
and
so
gear
much,
and-
yeah, and so many more.
Tell me a little bit about the shields and the hats, real quick. There's helmets and the
Well, this
shields.
this
You
particular
have a lot out
helmet,
here on the table.
this is leather. I have the same helmet, but it's metal. But I trimmed off these pieces. This is a conical helmet, Spangenhelm. Spangenhelm means it's put together in pieces, and it has an ocular guard. It has cheek plates, and it has a neck plate. So it gives maximum protection. Axes, this particular axe is known as a bearded axe because of its
Like a
shape.
beard.
Okay. It's handy, you can carry it on your shoulder like this, or you can hang it on things. It's used to pick up your shield. You can hook a shield in battle, and pull it, opening it up. So, and then you can go forward with a forward thrust. It's also a tool. An axe is a tool. These saxes were tools. They were used every day for everything that you could possibly use a tool like this for. These are always going to be considered tools. That which is not a tool is a sword. A spear is a hunting weapon. It's a defensive weapon. Bow and arrow, hunting weapon, also used as an offensive weapon, a projectile weapon. Swords are the only thing that was ever made that is used exclusively to kill men.
You can see the woven part of the steel that gives it the. See, the thing about a sword is it's got to be sharp. To be sharp, it's got to be hard. Now, to hit somebody with chainmail on, it can't be brittle. So they go through a couple of different processes. Hardening one, where they heat the sword up to orange or yellow heat, and quench it in water or oil, and then tempering, they let it cool down slowly. And it changes the chemical composition of the blade. What you've got in here, what makes it a sword, and not everybody had one of these things. Okay, how many people could afford them, could have them? It's got to be something that took days and days and days of work. I was watching, I posted on my own thing how to make the Sutton Hoo sword, and they were using power hammers and all that other stuff. This was one guy.
Can be either quick or can be good. Can't be both.
Yep.
Right. And the good ones were heirlooms. And it was basically what it is it is a slashing weapon. It is used, doesn't have much of a point on it. The real Viking ones didn't have much of a point on them. They were used for one of the first things you learn are the basic cutting moves and parrying moves. They were not, it's not this Hollywood sword fighting.
Take an arm or a leg off.
A Viking sword, you go in there and you protect yourself with your shield. You don't want to hit your sword against somebody else's sword. You take a big chunk out of it out. And possibly, and it's happened in some cases, break. Now the sax, like he's carrying, that is a secondary weapon. It's a short sword. It's not. Originally, it was a knife, but Vikings fight in the shield wall. And in the shield wall, you've got. Let me get the right thing. Let's kiss. In the shield wall, you've got shields overlapping. One person, and the people behind you put their shields over the top, and that's how you protect yourself. And a sword is useless because you can't swing. You're just
In the shields.
you can't.
And there's no room.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
So,
no room.
so it's
okay.
it's all
So
straight
you
in.
use,
behind it.
so you use this guy.
Everything in our way is moments in time. So if you're in a good moment, extend it. If you're in a bad moment, shorten it. But do it. Don't wait around. Procrastination doesn't work with us. Be active. Be doing something that's positive, either for yourself or for your folk. That's a constant with us. You don't think about it, you just do it. We're not practicing heathens, we are heathen. We're not learning how to be heathens, we're discovering how heathen we are. Most of the folk that come to us see the world, have lived their life exactly as we do. They just didn't see it from this perspective. That's all. I have good people in my life that are Christians that are as heathen as I am, but they call their God by a different name. But they're good people. And there's many good people. That's not even the point. The point is that these people are in our association. They learn everything that we learn. They participate in everything we do, for the most part, but they're not heathen. So we don't exclude people from Vikings of the Valley. The deeper tribal group, well then, you need to be heathen for that. The Vikings of the Valley is open to anyone. And it's all about going out and enjoying life as a Viking. When you do those things and you have fun and you're laughing and people see you having fun, and we drink from horns in public.
Yeah, let me see some of the.
Now this is a blowing horn, that's a drinking horn. So this is to make the noise, to sound the battle. And this is
That's big.
ruined. Only the bravest warriors can enter into the halls of Valhalla.
So do you guys make these?
Yes.
Now, the horn itself comes off of a
Cow.
steer,
Yeah, it's a cow.
obviously. But I did the work on mine. It's actually my first attempt at scrimshaw. I'm kind of proud of it, partial to it.
Acquisition of knowledge can be fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
And we do a lot of this stuff. Like, this was given to me raw. I scraped it, I
Really?
sanded it, I polished it, I did all of this stuff because now it's more important.
This is raw, and this is the same. Feel that, Sam. Feel the. Look how smooth that is compared to that. That's amazing.
That's at least been partially cleaned on the inside.
So once you clean it and you scrape it, then you polish it. What makes it smooth like that?
Yeah, polished it. I used sanded.
Mhm.
Used different grades of sandpaper, and then I used beeswax, and that's what
So
gives
that's-
it this nice
And the
sheen.
beeswax
That's got to be
works
like
it
a
into
labor
the
of love
pores.
by the time you, and then you're proud to drink.
Yeah, and then also, as he said, I taken Guinness and poured it in there, let it sit for about 48 hours.
What does that do? Guinness the beer?
It cures. Yeah.
It permeates the pores on the inside of it and just fills it up. So now it's
Does everything
cured.
sort of taste
It's
like
it's a
beer?
curing process. And the Guinness being a heavyweight beer, it's a very thick one. It just gets it all inside of it, and then it smells like Guinness, tastes like Guinness. If you put wine in it, it'll taste like the wine. It'll smell like the wine. You have to clean it though. It's a beauty of our way that we're that attached. And for those who aren't there yet, they understand where they want to go. They're just not there yet. The rest of it all makes sense. So that's why when Cookie says, it made sense to me. Now, I was looking for something and this made sense. And that's pretty much what I get from everyone who gets deeper into it. It makes sense to them. It feels right.
The Lakota have a phrase that they use as a greeting. It's called aloha. It's Mutakuye Oyasi, and it means we are all related.
Hi, this is Brandy from Exploring Expressions. If you're watching this, chances are you just got finished watching me read a really interesting book. I just wanted to take a moment to tell you that I am always on the hunt for interesting books. Have you written one? Do you know of one? Drop me a comment below or send me a message and let me know what book you think I should read next. And don't forget, if you like this video and want to see more, hit like, hit subscribe, and you can always follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Until next time, we'll see you later.